I am not the marriage, you know, I am part of the marriage. And the minute I become the marriage lacks, because what I contribute to the marriage is no longer there, you know, because I've now become the marriage. Marriage has been depicted as this terrible place by society because the people who are unhappy in marriage are so good at voicing it out and making marriage seem like it's this dungeon, it's this jail. And then us who are happy in our marriages, we're so scared to share because it's going to be like, oh, she's showing off. Women, right? We hate the toilet seat being raised, right? And we complain about it. But has your husband ever complained that you've put the toilet seat down?
Yeah, bro.
Exactly.
And it feels so good.
Welcome to another episode of Bedtime, the podcast. And tonight I'm in bed with one of my favorite ladies from television. I must tell you, her composure. It's such a winner for me, and I had to have her in the room. Welcome to Bedtime, Bomzi September.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are chuckling. We are chuckling because, wow, you can keep it cool, ma'am.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
I think it's because I choose peace, hey?
Oh, so you're intentional. So it's not a natural thing.
No.
Do you have the inclination to?
Oh, listen.
Really?
Not you're washing now.
Don't say that,
But
really.
I choose peace, yeah.
You choose peace all the time. And did you have in mind that cameras are rolling and are maybe perceived in a certain way?
No. It wasn't even about cameras. Every day I choose peace. Like, there are moments where I feel like, but then I'm just like, no, like, what impact will it have on my husband? What impact will it have on my child, on my family, you know? So I always have to think about everybody else.
Nice.
And if it's not going to have a great impact, then I'm just like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah, for me, that's a love language. Always having in mind the people in your life and how things affect them, even though it results sometimes in a hypervigilance that can hamper organic relationships. Because I remember when I was early in marriage, I used to think, should I be having like a friendly chat with another, like a man?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And the line was always like, I'm not always sure.
It's a bit blurry, yeah.
It was. And then now I think I've found my sweet spot because I understand where we are as a couple that's been together for 8 years, which is a long time. But your chat and I thought, marriage and growing the intimacy. One thing I know is that we change a lot. Maybe we get married young or even when you're older, there are certain things we change. And us ladies, as being hyper-stimulated, like we get excited by things all the time.
Yes.
And the men sort of represent a stability and a calmness that's the same throughout.
Yes.
Is that what you're...
100%.
So how do you navigate staying close, even if you are changing and you still love this person, but sometimes you're like, okay, there's just that thing that you're like, I'm not the same person and I don't translate to myself as the same. So I should be showing up to him authentically, but what does that person look like, the new person or the evolving person?
Yeah. I think the one thing I always advocate for in marriage specifically is you need to marry your best friend.
Oh, love that.
Because once you're married to your best friend, you are able to have those conversations.
Yeah.
So with us, I'm able to tell my husband, look, feathers that used to excite me then don't excite me anymore, And so also for him, it means then he gets to level up, and find what excites me now.
Yeah.
But if I am just going to keep quiet and not chat, then I'm not being fair. I'm not giving him the opportunity to be a better person in our relationship. But then when I crucify him, I'm going to crucify him with the thing of he should have known. But he's human.
He's human.
So...
Yeah, I guess for me, that part of he's human helps me with conflict resolution. Because I think us ladies, we have where the tempers just, and you're like... you should know this, or we've spoken about this, or we've dealt with this before, and the person's just coming off, something that happened in their day or whatever, and they're feeling like it's a lot to forgive or whatever. And I always think, okay, how would I want to be
100% addressed?
Yes, I've spoken to, and as well as reminded that it's something we have spoken about, but I've slipped.
Yeah.
Because obviously accountability is a big thing in marriage. Accountability is a huge thing because you've said to this person forever. And forever has many days. And some of those days you don't want anything that comes with that forever. You really don't. And I don't feel we have enough honest conversations about how even inside when, there are things that happen. There are days where you feel like, today, I want to be Refiloe. I don't want to be somebody's wife.
You don't want to be Mrs.
I don't want to be Mrs. anybody or anybody's mom. And I guess your thing about marrying a best friend is important because you can relay that message safely.
Yes.
Safety is a thing, isn't it?
It's very important in marriage.
Yeah. So how do you and your husband navigate growing that intimacy? Because for me, it's about, if I can talk to you, it means that when we get to a setting like this, things are better.
Yes.
And things can go. So what are the other active things that you do to grow that side of your relationship?
Sure. My husband and I do a lot here. I think because we are genuinely best friends, we literally do everything together except for 9 to 5. Like 9 to 5 is the only time we are separated. But everything, like from going to buy bread, we will walk together. And, for women, touch is very important. So my husband will always hold my hand, even if we're going to buy bread down the road, if we're walking in the mall, like how friends, he'll just put his elbow or his arm, stuff like that. So those things ignite. It's like by the time we get here, I'm already there because he's been doing little things throughout the day to get me there.
Yeah. And you don't find, because familiarity also gets that thing where you're like, okay, we are overly familiar and there's that borderline friendship thing. Does that not happen to you guys?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. But I mean,
I saw a couple on TikTok, they call each other chomam.
That's what we call each other with my husband.
Cute. I want that. My friend, And I know with some couples, I think it was a friend who told me they mistakenly said friend when they answered the husband's, and he was livid.
Oh, no.
Because it was like, what's going on there where I have to be a friend? He's like, no, that's not the friend I meant. The friend which is you or my friend.
Yes.
You understand? But I know for some couples, it's like the oil it gets the oil going because you always have to remember that the person belongs to themselves first, I guess, with relationships. And did you always aspire to be in a marriage? Because I know growing up,
I never dreamed. I just wanted to be the rich aunt. I had no time for being married. And then I found myself in a marriage, my first marriage, and it didn't last. And the core purpose was because we were not friends. So we didn't have commonalities. What he liked, I didn't like. So we couldn't find a middle ground, And now then I met my current husband. Oh my gosh. I saw his face and I was like, I'm going to marry this guy, and it's literally been amazing. There's never been a day where I've had to drag myself in this marriage. It's always just been like, I'm married to my best friend.
It's earnest.
Yes. And we actually call our marriage, we call it a never-ending sleepover. And that's because, when you're a child and you're with your best friend and you have a sleepover, you never want to go home.
Never.
Because it's been so good. And that's how we feel in our marriage, that it's so good that the whole world can do whatever they're doing. So
you're doing you.
Yeah.
I find that the couples that personalize marriage actually are the ones that win or succeed over the ones that are constantly on a search or they follow what has been prescribed.
Yeah.
In the name of I was having a conversation earlier, I think it was one of the guests yesterday about why does the switch happen when there's dating excitement and, even in the bedroom, you guys do things that, you've always wanted to do. And then the switch happens and, we spoke a little bit about the bills element. But, for me, it's that I look forward to, what I had before, because to lead you guys to marry is because there was a pitch. You guys pitched to another.
100%.
This is who I am and this is how things are. Have you maintained most of that excitement earlier, or do you feel like the excitement just stayed with the two of you?
I think it stayed. I think it stayed. But obviously we do have our moments of dipping.
Of course.
And in those moments of dipping, we are able to call each other back, and be like, mate, Lana, like what's
I
happening?
actually heard you guys call each other mate on the show.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yes.
So, and then we'll have the serious conversation about, okay, what's happening? Because it might not be me, it might not be him.
Yeah,
but it might
external
be outside.
factors. Yes.
So how can we solve that external factor so that it doesn't hurt this, you know? And then once that's resolved, like, we just push a button and
then you reset and back, you know. Did you have traditional, like upbringing, the traditional values of, you know, like is like the head of the house and, you know, and then when you, is that what you are modeling or you've just done your own thing since you found like you're inside?
Yeah, I had the traditional, dad's the provider, dad is serious. Mom is the caretaker. So like I never saw what I have with my husband. And I think that's why I sought for it. Because I always just felt like if I'm going to be with this person for like 40 years, it might as well be fun, you know. And literally that's what I went searching for. I wanted my best friend and found him.
What I wanted to tell you earlier is that I'm also in my second marriage. Actually, my husband and I are both in the second marriage, and it just feels like the other time it was
trial run.
Like really, like it's like okay.
Yep. It's a trial run.
And for me, the difference is like stark because it's like back then it was like, oh, we've attended everybody else's wedding. Should we? Okay, let's do it. So now it tells you what we thought of the decision. We really didn't think much of it. And when it came to performance, which is there's a lot to perform when you are in a marriage in order to make it work. We just fell flat. And you know, now there is just this thing about wanting to keep and preserve what we have so much.
Yeah, it's intentional.
It is so like, you that part you can't touch. And I guess for me, it's speaking to that thing where you spoke about if you marry your best friend, other things become more natural, more organic, more coming. But then enters the strangers, the small ones.
One of those ones. Oh my gosh.
Like I just knew you now. You know, do you find that you enjoy being a mother?
I love being a mom. But there are days when I'm just like, hey,
time out.
I need time out. And I think it's also because my husband is still in sport. My husband's a coach. So he's never home. So, and we don't have a helper. So it's literally me and this 2-year-old. And there's no break for me. So there are moments when I'm just like, can I swallow you for the day?
Because you're safe.
Yeah, you're safe in my tummy. Can I swallow you for the day? Do what I need to do. Just be me. And then tomorrow I'll give birth to you again. And we continue, you know. But amazingly, like I've never had a point where I'm like, okay, I give up. You know, because I've realized like she's got no one else. And God saw it fit that I become a mom, you know.
And that face.
Listen.
That face will remind you.
Every morning. So, but there are moments where I wish, like, my husband and I could just escape, sometimes switch all a bit and come back, you know. But
I got that a bit as well because the gap between the two is the other one's turning 11 this year and the other one's turning 2. So by the time, you know, I was pregnant again, I like a lot had changed in my life. I was no longer, you know, free in terms of, you know, stuff that I do for work and everything. And the anxiety of I am breastfeeding. So if I'm going to take a meeting outside, I know that soon I'll leak and I'll have to
come back,
So I preferred the online meetings. But for authentication, because we live in a scammy world, I always want to see what I'm dealing with. So that was super, super tough. I remember the first show I shot over at Vilagazi Studios. Because I was new to the whole broadcasting thing. And I was there longer than I did to. And then I started leaking, like, after getting, cut, you're not doing it right. And then things just, one of the worst days of my life. But I wouldn't take it away for anything because, it, you know, from that day, the girl who showed up the next day was somebody else. So I was like, okay, I have to get my head in the game. You know, I am your mom and I love you and I will always want to be there for you. But I do need a place where I'm committed to only me because I still find that my dreams and my passions and everything still hold value.
100%.
And all of us can exist in this thing. And now he's 2 and, you know, things are settling as well, but it does change the relationship and it does change you. Yes,
It does.
And are you like now having like a goal that you're working towards currently, and you're feeling like you have to make being married and being a mom part of that, whatever that next is?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, come to think of it, now I've always been like a corporate baddie. You know, I've always seen myself like, I need to be a CEO of this. But now it's like, I need to plan my life so that if my daughter one day has a netball game, I'm available for the netball game. Like my life has completely shifted. My way of thinking has completely shifted. And it's all about her. You know, I need to be the best mom for her. And, you know, there's a lot of sacrifices that my mom had to make for me. The time was different. So my mom had to work a lot. But in that, she missed a lot of my stuff.
True.
You know,
True.
and I understand. I understand because I wouldn't be here if she didn't sacrifice that.
Yeah.
But now that I'm here, I don't want that for my daughter.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want every time my daughter's friends ask, where's your mom? Is your mom coming? No, my mom's at work.
Yeah.
You know, it must be that thing of, oh, there's Aaliyah's mom.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's completely shifted.
How you've thought about it before you were a mom, ne?
Yeah.
Yeah. I find that it does enrich your perspective. It's like you become new.
Yeah.
Even though, you know, after so many years, because back then I feel like I was somebody else when, you know, the older one was born. And I feel like I had more time. I mean, I was strictly an anti-TV person. Do you know how I drummed books to this child? I still see it today. You know, he's way advanced. And I try to make him not read, you know, things that are not in his. But if you take too long to get him the next books, he grabs whatever's there. I remember he read, whose book? Is it one of the soccer players' books? And he was telling me, do you know, Mark Williams. He's like, oh, do you know that he was in a gang, mommy? And then there was a stabbing. Like, hey, you are 10. Where did you get that book? He's like, I took it from daddy's books. But now I can see that it's back from that time. And then with number 2, we are on Miss Rachel.
Oh, wow.
Because I've quickly got to take a Zoom call. I've quickly got to do something. And sometimes you don't have the other person in like what you're saying, you know. The backup support is not 100% available all the time.
Yes.
But all these things need to coexist. And we find that mom guilt enters this fear. Does that happen to you as well?
All the time.
So how do you deal with it?
I just deal, hey?
Yeah.
Like I just accept that I'm not going to be perfect. You know, I'm her mom. I'm no one else's mom. And that should be enough. But I'm human. I'm not going to get it right all the time. And I think that's the grace we need to extend ourselves as mom. I always say to people, like, even with our bodies, you know, like you give birth and you expect to snap back and be snatched again. And I'm like, but you're growing a whole baby outside. For 2 years, you're nurturing this thing that can't do anything for itself. So you don't really have time for yourself and your body. So I always say, like, after 2 years, then you can say, okay, now I can work on being snatched. So I guess it's just the same concept that you need to extend yourself.
Grace. Yeah. I found that sentence deep in therapy because I wouldn't give myself the grace. And for me, it was one of the things that awakened, you know, that I do have things that I want to do, and they could never be more important than my child or my family at that time, you know, because it was all about meeting deadlines. And like, you just gave birth, right? Do you know how huge that is? So not to reduce it to just being like a line item on your to-do list. So when she does grow up and she starts asking you about, you know, the birds and bees, you know, how would you define intimacy to your daughter if she asked?
Sure. I'd probably be as honest as my mom was. My mom, maybe because she was a nurse, she was so honest about everything, you know. But I think like the core of it, even without like the actual intercourse, but I think intimacy is where you feel the safest. Where you know that I could strip naked and I'd be okay with how my husband sees me with all my scars, you know, and I won't feel like I'm being judged. For me, that is intimacy.
Yeah, the safety.
Yeah.
Emotional safety, psychological
Everything,
safety.
financial safety.
Right. Hey.
That is so important.
Like, why do we get vilified, Mara, for wanting to be financially safe? No, I don't know.
I don't know, guys.
How,
But yeah, money makes the work around.
Was it a TikTok where somebody says, "Oh, why niti ditandi mali, nitanda mache?" Like, what must I laugh? Because that also contributes. I love that you've brought finances into the intimacy discussion, because being worried whether things are going to be met at the end of the month does strain the level of connection.
100%.
So there is no way one can talk about the relationship thriving in its intimacy and things have not been taken care of. And not so much maybe for dating people, because there'll always be other options, right? Yeah. But when you guys have anchored a home and you're saying, okay, now we're bringing in kids into it, it's a different ball game. Yes. And there's like now my mind is going there, but there's the part where also you try to be intimate under obligatory reasons as well, because you feel like, oh, okay, it's been a week or it's been a week and a half. Yeah, even though
people need to release and stuff.
It's real. It's real. It's something that's really real that we don't really want to talk to. Do you find that, let's say you feel like, okay, like, yeah, I'm in a phase where it's not. And I feel like, I need to get things in order in my home or all of that stuff. The same grace is extended to you, like vice versa. Do you think we, like as wives, we give ourselves to say, okay, but it's okay. I've actually not been okay for a few weeks. Or we feel like we've always got to give when it comes to obviously both the family and, when it comes to the bedroom?
I think I've been blessed, to be quite honest. My husband is amazing. He extends exactly the same grace to me.
That you do to him.
That I do to him. So when I'm not okay, it's okay. And he will sit with me through me not being okay and help me find a solution for me to be okay, and I'm very, I fear debt, right? So because of that, I always hold back. I'm so scared of buying something if I can't afford it. I always tell him, like, if I can't afford it 3 times, we can't afford it. And he's like, yeah, but you've got the money for it.
Somebody listens to Jay-Z. I love
it. So he's like, yeah, but if you got the money for it, you can buy it. He's like, I'm like, no, it's not like that. So he also helps me to pull me out of that thing. Don't deprive yourself. Tomorrow you're going to die. You're going to leave your money to somebody and that person's just going to blow your money, So because of that, like, I'll always sit there and I'll be like, I think we need a new this, but no, we can't afford it, and that thing will stress me knowing that there is money in the bank account, but I've got this thing in my head that we cannot afford it, and not affording frustrates me. And then it's a whole thing of, okay, but you can afford it. You know?
Not wanting to go back.
Yes, because I've been in a situation where I've been in debt and I've gotten myself out of it. So I don't want to go back into that because it's a dark place to be.
It is such a dark place to be. I've also been like in my single years, like being like on bad debt, and then getting out of it. I think, I don't know whether, now COVID has given us words to talk, whether the trauma of it or whatever. But after that phase and being in a place where it's more comfortable than that one, I still find myself at China Mall, and to my husband's annoyance, they've got nice things.
I love China Mall.
I know, right? And the other place that starts with an S online. But because you say, the kids buy there. Why are you buying there? And I'd be like, no, because, like things are... It's like, no, like, go to the mall like adults and walk in the shop and get what you want. Now we have to wait 3 weeks for the stuff you want. And I have to hear how it's late. And I have to hear how your taxes are, whatever. And I do feel like it's not the same. First, I'm keeping myself very millennial. But there's also that part of me that I never want anything about me to pronounce where I am on the scale of life. So I do wear my, I call it a skotaiki because from this part of town, N1 North. But I just wear my hoodie, my big jacket, and I go there. And I don't mind meeting people I know because I've seen people video people like, oh, she also shops in China. I'm like,
but what's wrong?
What is so wrong with that? And it's like, okay, like just go and buy something good with quality or whatever. And I love that, because that's fine if you have one statement piece there, one expensive pair of this there. But fashion, because it can be also fleeting. I feel like,
especially for us women.
Yes, and there are so many things. Because for 1,000 rand, you could, but one also thinks about, are you not maybe operating under, lack mindset? Lack mindset? Is that what they call it? Where we are so tied to the baggage of the debt. Because would it be so bad to have one good day of spending finances that's not going to take you back there? So we always do need people to pull us back. But yeah, I feel like I find that when it comes to that, I'm not all the way journey in terms of wanting to spend the money, because people also look at that. They're like, okay, when you're like, okay, just want to do lashes. How much is lashes? What you put on your status, maybe your lifestyle, you on a yacht, determines your price, how much they can charge you. I don't know if, I don't know if you are aware, but now I'm so hyper, like, even like on WhatsApp, like I try, like I used to enjoy WhatsApp a lot and look at people, oh, this child's grown, like this and that. But now I find it such a cold place, because what you've put on there is what people now present as, they feed it back to you, because you've said you are this kind of person. So I can't come to you now, charging the price I charge across the road for somebody else.
Girl, you better charge me cheap. I shop at Chinatown, okay? And I'm proud of it.
That is so my reality. Like, but I mean, we'll have a whole conversation about that. But for people who are wanting Bomzi, they're like, okay, they look at you and they're watching that Sports Wives, and especially the conversation where you were having about, obviously, wanting to be healthier with your body and make certain choices and getting that kind of support. I thought that was pivotal for me, because it definitely had nothing to do with anybody else in the marriage but you.
Yes.
And bringing that into the storyline, whether intentional or not, for me, highlighted something you are trying to tell us about agency of the individual in marriage. Because a lot of us forget that.
100%. I'm such an advocate of that. I'm such an advocate of being an individual in the marriage. I am not the marriage, I am part of the marriage. And the minute I become the marriage lacks. Because what I contribute to the marriage is no longer there, because I've now become the marriage. And that's the one thing, like when I tell like other wags, as much as yes, we support our husbands, don't disappear, because your husband needs that strength that you come with. But now the minute you disappear in his shadow, you don't bring that strength along. So it was very important for me to do me on the show and remind women that you're allowed, for your spotlight to shine. And it's not just about your husband all the time. As much as they say behind every successful man, there's a woman. Yeah, behind every successful woman, there's a man,
So what?
Exactly, So it was important for me to show women that whatever's going to make you happy will make the marriage happy. So for me, if it meant reducing my breasts, will contribute better to the marriage, because I'm not going to complain about back pain anymore, then it's going to make the marriage better.
You have a baby, you'll be more agile, it just spoke to the whole health of the unit.
Yes. So, and like, man, it's just difficult when you put your priorities aside, because then the marriage is going to swallow you. And then one day you're going to wake up and you're going to cause drama and you're going to look like a psycho, whereas you're the one that decided.
And often it's not a discussion. You feel like, I want to be this kind of wife, and you put the bar so high, so high. And then you feel inadequate for just being human, because your expectations, they're sky high. And we superhero syndrome it. I also suffer a great deal of that, because I saw my mom homemake. She was as humble as your mom in terms of her profession. She was a teacher. And I saw that and I was like, okay, I would like this for my husband as well, for him to have it. But there's just this burning desire to do so 100 other things that have got nothing to do with him. So yeah, we've had to sit and have those conversations because he's also in 9 to 5. So how do you balance? Because on the side of ours, things are haphazard 24 hours of the day. I call entrepreneurship putting out 1,000 fires at the same time.
100%.
So that's what it is. But I want to commend you for that because we do shelve bits of ourselves and put them there for no, I'll carry on with this once the kids are older. No, I'll be able to do this once me and my husband are in a better place or whatever, and nobody's asking for that kind of sacrifice from you.
None.
That's why when things do not go your way, because you've othered yourself, you feel like you were used.
Yes.
And nobody asked for,
He's a narcissist.
Can you please give me your life so that I can use it? No, you were a willing participant in not setting the boundaries that are required, and those are difficult conversations that if you don't have a best friend or a safe space for the intimate discussion, you will end up giving and giving and giving until you are depleted.
100%.
Yeah. So how does Bomzi September fill her cup in?
I do a lot of my favorite things. I read. I love to read. For example, I love reading. My husband hates reading. But he'll sit next to me while I read, because for him, being next to me is important, regardless of what I'm doing. So I'll get my hour to read while he sits next to me and does nothing. We send each other a lot of reels. I'm a queen of reels.
That's adulting. Somebody said it on TikTok. Adulting is sending your friends reels and hoping they'll put a heart on it.
Yep. But also, I am very athletic. So I'll go for a run, I'll go for a walk. I always make sure that every week I do something for me because you can't withdraw from an empty bank account. So I cannot expect my husband or my daughter to withdraw something from me if I'm empty. So I always make sure that by the end of the week, I've filled up my bank account so that when they need to withdraw, there's something there
for them.
Yeah, so I'll do anything that makes me happy, whether it's with them or without them. But as long as at the end of it, I was like, oh, that was so nice.
My husband asked me the other day what I like the least about being married. And I said, it's the thing I used to judge married women for, and is how you can't finish a conversation without saying my husband. I've turned into that.
Yeah.
I detest that side of me.
But he's part of you.
I understand that. I legit feel like it's valid, but I feel like, okay, where's my content?
But you know what it means? It means that you're in a good space. Because I don't think you'd mention your husband if you didn't like him.
Facts.
If you weren't happy where you are. You mention him because, he makes sense in your life. And that's why you can say, oh, my husband. And it's not like you're showing off, but that's your life, And you're actually right. Yeah, I also used to judge women.
I used to judge my kids, my husband, my kids. You're the bride, my kids, my husband. I don't belong here.
Yes.
I must go sit another side. Now I'm that girl and I'm side-eyeing myself often, and I have to say, okay. And that's the other thing. I don't like to lead stranger discussions with work, because also I think people are looking at you like, is that all you work? And then now what? You see, so I'm like, okay, there's the marriage, which I don't really want to talk about, and then there's work, which I don't really talk about. What's there in the middle?
Do you know why we don't want to talk about our marriages? Because marriage has been depicted as this terrible place by society. Because the people who are unhappy in marriage are so good at voicing it out and making marriage seem like it's this dungeon, it's this jail. And then us who are happy in our marriages, we're so scared to share because it's going to be like, oh, she's showing off. Or, oh, she's lying.
It's from that point that I'm thinking like, oh, she's lying. She's making it, you know.
Yes, but truth of the matter is, gumnandi, guys, gumnandi where I am, And I think we need to have esas bindi that the people are miserable have to go out and be like, guys, it's nice here. Yes, it's not going to work out for everyone, but for me, it's nice here. And you should actually give it a try because it might be nice for you too. So I don't think it's wrong, but I think we just didn't get it
Yeah, we just didn't get it when we were not inside.
Yes.
Yeah, so what you're saying is I'm possibly projecting, which is true. Yeah, because maybe there is nothing wrong. Maybe people want to hear about that and maybe they're curious about it and I never know. So I'm going to start thinking about it differently from now on. But if I was to pose that question to you, what do you like the least about being married?
I don't have a room anymore. Like I it's not mine. Like I don't have my room I share with my husband. My daughter has a room. She doesn't even pay rent. She doesn't do anything.
Oh, you're like looking at the stranger's life. You're like, you have it good, girl.
You know, like she has a room. She has her own closet. She has her own bathroom. Me, I'm sharing. Like I think that's the one thing because I like things a certain way and my husband likes them a certain way. So it's like now I need to compromise because we're sharing this room.
We're sharing, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the one thing.
Yeah, chargers and things were placed and yeah.
Like where's this? No, I put it here because I thought it made sense. Okay, but it doesn't make sense for me. You know, but if it was my room, if I left it there, I was gonna find it there.
You know, there are couples who have, you know, that kind of life where the other one sleeps in a separate bedroom. And I actually spoke about this on 72. The other time they called me because they wanted to talk about alternative lifestyles. And then we spoke to a couple who they make it work because they've seen that miraculously space became such an issue between the two of them. So the other one also had sleep apnea or whatever. So now he's fully kitted in his own bedroom, and they get sexy time properly. And then when it's time for bed, each of them have their own rooms.
Feels like it feels like you came over to a boy's house. It's 6 pillars there. No,
it's giving that. Because even if it's not about sexy time or anything, you often want to throw a leg or two into somebody's thing and you're tired and like, you know. So but they saw that, okay, for them, they are big space people.
Yeah.
And space means everything. And in that way, my charger stays in my room. I don't have to annoy you with that. We have a full-on relationships. It's just that in the house, my place of rest is different from yours. And that's after we've had our... You find that weird? Well, when I was listening to the story and how happy they were, thriving, I was like, why? More people, I think it could solve a lot more people's problems. Maybe not ours as we are sitting here, but a lot of couples having this clause to say, we are going to make our definition like this because it needs to work for both of us. I know for a big one for me is the bathroom. You know, because obviously we take 700 hours to get ready and you need the space. And by the time you've used the space, you've infringed on others' space. And, you know, just want to work hard so I can afford
2 bathrooms.
my own and lock it and where I know that toilet seats are not going to be affected. Everything will be, you know.
Can I tell you a trick about the toilet seat?
What?
Women, right, we hate the toilet seat being raised, right, and we complain about it. But has your husband ever complained that you've put the toilet seat down?
Never.
Exactly. So why can't you extend the same grace?
He's actually very good with putting it down. It's the odd occasion.
And you still snap.
Not snap, but I'll be like, you know, I think it's my biotechnology background because I was a germaphobe in that phase when I was in the sciences. And I understand aerosols. So it's not because I want to sit on it. It's because the space will be. So it's only from that thought. Okay. You know,
well, then that's a different school of thought.
Yeah, it's only from that. It's not that it's because I want it's that other scientific explanation for things. But I feel like after a while, I don't even talk to him about it because I also got that. You put it down and they'll put it up. How you prefer it is how you use it. It's like with the car, you know. He prefers his seat more at the back because he's got longer legs and a shorter torso, and I'm up the other side. But it's the same car. But I mean, whoever's using it can just adjust the seat, and then that's 100%. Fine. So I've gotten over those small little niggles. But like, if let's say you had to curate and say, okay, this would definitely make, I think, our living arrangements easier. I know about, having your own room, but what other things about being married? You can say, we could add this and it would definitely be a game changer.
Sure. If I could just have him home more.
Love it.
If I could have my husband home more.
So you must coach remotely, Mos. He can.
How?
You must send notes to the VAR system.
He has a full joint and teeth. If he could be home more, I'd be.
So for you, it would elevate. Okay, so you're a quality time girl.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you have a lot in common. The person I'm married to, because he's very older and more,
Yeah.
and I'm very haphazard. And I want to be with you, but can it be at the outdoors? Also because our space, we have 5 other people that use it the way they want.
Yeah,
and they're still learning their expression language. So you don't know if they are morning people, are they evening people. So if I could have a house separate from the kids, I think that would also be a level above.
Yeah.
But in a perfect world.
Like, come just next door. Okay, bye kids. See you tomorrow.
I've enjoyed our chat so much, Bomzi. Where can we support your work?
What work?
Anything that you're out there, that you want us to know.
Look, there is actually an initiative that I'm starting because of my breast issue. It's called Raising the Bra. So it's about, one, giving bras to girls who actually can't afford bras, but also finding the right bra for every other woman. Because I think a lot of our problems as women is, I was a 34B in Jan, and you think that in December you might still be a 34B. So there's that lack of education when it comes to, bras and your boobs and how they change.
Yeah.
So that's the initiative I'm busy with.
Nice.
Just to raise the bra.
So aptly named. I love the name. I love
to raise the bra so that we can educate girls and women better, because at our big ages, we still don't actually know
your bra size. And you go into the mall in such a hurry, you're like, I know they can measure me here, but the last one I bought was this and it was fine. Or the last one I just need to adjust a little bit. And
then all of a sudden where you've got marks and stuff, which you could have avoided.
Yeah.
So
I think for me, that's so very key, the work that you are doing, because it speaks to also the more conversations that we are not having about self-care and whatever, The way my sister, like growing up used to judge me, she's like, no, I know you're going whatever, but your underwear doesn't match your bra. Because that's what informed her world, watching everybody is doing these things, and you feel judged for your inside. Because I really wasn't, I grew up a tomboy.
Me too.
But if, let's say, I have issues with breasts and bras and whatever, sometimes cool when our parents, because they've othered their nakedness, you feel like it's not a complete discussion.
Yes.
Because they'll say, I'm done. Oh, Tina, we didn't even have bras when we started right or whatever. How has the reception been with the people that you're working with?
It's actually been great, because I've actually realized that a lot of women don't know their bra size. And it would help so much just if you know what you are no longer 34B, my love. You are now a 36C. And Yazini, have you ever noticed how the first thing you want to take off once you've knocked off work is your bra? It's because it's uncomfortable, So those are like the conversations and the things that I'm trying to get right, with the little community that I've started already. And it's helping. It's helping a lot. I know last week I was having a conversation with my friends, and it was just on bras and how expensive bras are.
Like, why?
I don't know. And because of that, people aren't buying the correct size. Because the bigger the bra,
the more support you need.
Yes,
but the wire is a no-go.
So it's important in our little woman community. Because bras give us the shape we need.
It does. And for me, what you are doing, which is key also could be the education around when they first enter the bra world. Because I think often that conversation, I mean, they talk to you about your periods, but about the bra, the right bra. Don't even start with the wires yet and things like that. Maybe you want padded because you want to appear this way. It's a whole woman discussion. And, I hope we are able to support you when you start your journey of that, because we definitely value wellness. And, intimacy discussions can never be had enough amongst us. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I've enjoyed it.
Me too.
That's all we have time for in tonight's episode of Bedtime, the podcast with Bomzi September. Catch us again next time.
And it feels so good.